You know, a model United Nations is a fantastic place to learn. Besides the debating and the research that you get to learn about, the skill set that you get, especially if you're interested in policy and politics in general, I think a model United Nations is a great place to start. Today I wanted to speak with all of you about young people, something that I call positive activism and the SDGs. When I was growing up, when you thought about sustainability or the environment, one organization that came to mind was Greenpeace. You think about 4 or 5 people, young people that got onto an inflatable boat, drove up in the middle of the ocean, stopped an oil liner just to prove a point. You'd have 7, 8 people that climbed up a building, put out a poster there just to placate the government and say, what you're doing is wrong. They tried to force the government as much as they could to try and say that sustainability was the way. Greenpeace and organizations such as them have done a lot to bring to mind issues of sustainability. But today, when you think of sustainability, people like Afroz Shah come to mind. Afroz Shah is a young boy from Mumbai who looked out his window one day and saw a pile of garbage. He stays on Warsaw Beach. He and his neighbor, his 84-year-old neighbor, decided that they have to clean up the beach. They didn't petition the government. They didn't file something in the High Court. They did not tweet about it. Instead, he and his 84-year-old neighbor decided that they will go out every single day. They will motivate slum dwellers. They'll motivate celebrities, politicians, and bureaucrats to come out every single day and clean the beach. 140 weeks later, the Warsaw Beach in Mumbai is spotless. In 2014, just after we won the general elections, a young boy who was about 16 at the time, Arsh Mogre, he came to me and he said, Madhukeshwar, the streets around where I live is very dirty. I want to do something about it. So he got a few of his friends together and started cleaning that area. He not just cleaned it, he painted the walls around it and sensitized people about the need as to why that area should be clean. Arsh motivated more of his fellow colleagues, more of his classmates, more of his batchmates, and formed an organization called Swachhalaya. Swachhalaya now operates in multiple cities, was recognized by the United Nations, and Arsh and his young team were in fact invited by the Honorable Prime Minister a couple of months ago to felicitate them for the great work that they were doing. I was in the US a couple of months ago, and somebody asked me what the best catchphrase was that's come up post 2014. And the one word that I told them that I thought that was the best catchphrase was toilets. The number of times the word toilet has been used in our parlance in the last 4 years, I can't imagine a time before that it has. The Prime Minister, in fact, in 2013, before he became the Prime Minister, made a very important statement. He said, Swachhalaya ke baad Devalaya. Before we build a temple, we have to build a toilet. And that is a very profound statement. And we have got, in 2014, we had rural toilet coverage of about 39%. Today, we have rural toilet coverage of over 96%. But it would be unfair to just credit the Prime Minister or the government of the day for doing this. In 2016, 2 boys who work in Gujarat, Parth and Amitabh, came to meet me. They had a fantastic idea. They operated just in Gujarat at that point in time. They run this organization called Yuva Unstoppable. What they do is they identify schools in villages as well as in cities that either don't have toilets or that have dilapidated toilets. They go to funds, they go to corporate houses, they get money from them, and they build toilets to a certain standard, to an acceptable standard. But what is most interesting is that they get KPMG, McKinsey, or one of the consulting groups to actually do a due diligence on whether each toilet seat and each toilet that they've built is up to a certain standard or not. The KPMG or McKinsey or one of their consulting groups, in fact, does a diligence after a year after building the toilet to see if students are actually using that toilet or not. In fact, when I was looking at this example, when I was thinking about it, I think this fits perfectly into the broad topic of what you guys are here for. You have all non-state actors that are pushing a sustainable development goal. And I think You Are Unstoppable is the perfect fit for that. How many of you here have heard of Global Citizen? How many of you know of it as Chris Martin and Coldplay coming and performing here? I'm glad, because Global Citizen, the reason why Global Citizen was formed was to end extreme poverty globally. And when they came to India, I was part of the core team that brought them to India. When they came to India, we got over 90,000 people to attend the event in Mumbai. It's the largest event in history that we've organized. We had world leaders, we had Indian leaders, we had corporate leaders that all came on stage, all for the Sustainable Development Goals. We got them to commit over $5.9 billion, not to the government, not to the state. We got them to commit it directly to implement the SDGs. But if you ask me whether the Global Citizen Concert or the Global Citizen event is a showcase for why young people can come together to fulfill the SDGs, I would say that would be incorrect. To my mind, the best example, Global Citizen happened on November 19th of 2016. On the 20th of November, the next day, at 6:30 in the morning, Arsh and his group of 20 people put on their plastic gloves, put on their masks, got their garbage bags out and cleaned every single square inch of that 2-acre piece of land. That in itself shows me that young people like Arsh, Afroz and Parth and Amitabh don't want to depend on the government, don't want to depend on the state to ensure that the Sustainable Development Goals are achieved. They want to ensure that they come together, motivate their fellow young people and work towards building a better environment. Before I end today, I want to speak to you all for just 2 minutes about something that's really important to me. I want to speak to you all about privilege. It's taken a long time for me to understand just how privileged I am. And if I can break it down in 4 or 5 simple points, I'm a man, I speak English, I'm rich, my mother says I'm good looking, and I'm straight. There are millions of people in India and across the world that face discrimination because they're not one of these things. Ask yourself this question. A lot of people here come from great privilege. Ask yourself this question. What are you doing with your privilege? Are you using it to perpetuate your own success, your own ambitions, and your own wealth? Or are you doing something that has a larger impact? Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for sharing your ideas and perspectives with us today.